All right, what up, guys? Mad Scientist 7890 here, your favorite shooter and hip-hop enthusiast. Now, with this video here, it's going to be in the lab video. I got my boy MVPScheer and TheNathanCarterYT, and we're going to do this video here, and we got a couple topics we want to talk about. And one of the biggest ones here, I know a lot of fans are very happy to hear that the man, the myth, the legend, Vince Russo is finally fired from TNA. What are your guys' thoughts on this?
I honestly think it's a little bit overrated. I think people are a little bit too excited. I look at the company as having three huge creative issues, creative roadblocks: Vince Russo, Hulk Hogan, and Eric Bischoff, and the majority of them are still there. 2 out of 3 is still pretty damn bad. So I'm not gonna get too excited. I don't think the company's gonna. I mean, I like what they've been doing lately. I can't deny that, but I don't think the company's gonna take fire now. I don't necessarily think Vince Russo has been completely holding them back. So I'm gonna hold up. I'm not gonna say that it's great right now. I'm gonna wait a few months and I'm gonna see where the product goes, and maybe they'll show me something they haven't shown me. But
yeah, I honestly completely agree with Nathan here. It's now time to see if Vince Russo is actually the serious problem with the company, or if their problems lie deeper. Because now that he's gone, we can all blame everything on Vince Russo before, but now if the company continues to suck, we have nothing else to blame it on. I mean, he's gone. You can't just say, oh, it's Russo's fucking fault, because Russo's not there anymore. And so it doesn't get me any more excited for TNA yet, because I watched their latest pay-per-view, and I didn't think it was super great. It still wasn't as good as I think it could be, and I don't know if it would have been any worse with Russo there. Like he said, there's still 2/3 of people there. You cut out 1/3 of the cancer is still there in the company, and they still have problems to work out.
Yeah, and absolutely. I'm going to use this metaphor here with Russo. Basically, with the United States, Vince Russo's equivalent to the United States is George Bush. When George Bush left, they brought Obama in. Now, they don't really have anybody in there. I guess they have Lagana, but I mean, not a lot of stuff changed when Obama came in. So could it just be that the damage is already done in TNA and they can't fix it? Like the guy that was in there before already messed everything up?
No, they can definitely fix it. They have the talent to fix it at least. If they can get somebody that's good creatively, I guess you could say Lagana. If they can get some good storylines and give me some reason to actually tune in to Thursday on a show that's already taped, which is really hard to do, but SmackDown got me to do it at the beginning of the year, so it's not impossible. Give me something to actually care about, and I may start to watch. Until then, I probably could care less.
Now, I've actually been impressed with what I've seen for the most part. For the last couple of weeks, I've really enjoyed their impacts. I think they're building the right guys. They're really building stories. I know me and Nathan were talking about how Bully Ray is really doing a great job in his position. A lot of stuff they're doing right now is making a lot of sense, and the quality of matches they're putting on is a lot better than what it was. The storylines are going in the right direction. There really isn't anything ridiculous going on. The only thing that's ridiculous that's going on is the storyline that's wrapped around Eric Bischoff and Hulk Hogan, which is the Garrett Bischoff thing. Everything else seems to be doing fine. The knockouts are in a good spot. The X Division's on its way, on its come up. Austin Aries is doing a great job. The main event scene is definitely got 3 or 4 or 5 guys in that situation that can do good stuff. So, they named on Impact, Bobby Roode versus James Storm Lockdown. Does that in a cage? Does that excite you guys for that pay-per-view? It does for me. I think it's gonna be great, actually.
yeah, I like that they didn't hotshot it and put it on Victory Road. I think that's actually really smart. I think it's.
The thing I don't want to see Roode and Sting, which is going to be the main event of Victory Road. So I think it's kind of like, oh yeah, we get one good match. But before that, we're gonna have to sit through a shitty pay-per-view.
Yeah.
To get to Lockdown.
Now, sometimes they do that. They're gonna.
I guess that it kind of makes it seem like back when WWE had No Way Out, before they did the Elimination Chamber thing. Usually No Way Out was like an afterthought show where they kind of just put on crap matches to lead up to WrestleMania.
Yeah, I see that. But they always had to do that thing, for people to actually buy the pay-per-view before like a WrestleMania. They really had to put on a quality show because nobody wanted to buy it. I could see this surprising and being okay, just as good as. I wouldn't say good, but the last pay-per-view they had, I was impressed. They had AJ versus Kaz. There wasn't any shenanigans. They had, Aries versus Shelley. No shenanigans. The main event was okay, but at the same time, it had a good story in it. So, I'm impressed with what they're doing now. Hopefully, they continue to try to, do some more with it. But I mean, I'm looking forward to the future as in Lockdown. I think Lockdown could be a really good one this year. So, next thing we're going to go on to is we're going to talk about Chris Hero officially in FCW, and a lot of talk going on about Mr. Hero's name, Kassius Ohno or Kassius Ohno. Really not quite sure, or if it's Kassius. We're really not quite sure how it's pronounced yet. Haven't seen it. But do you think this is a good move? You think Hero was okay with it? You think, I mean, it's not, you know, is it going to be a big deal, or is he going to be able to pull it off?
You have to think he pulled off Chris Hero, which is probably one of the most generic names you could come up with. So to say that he can't pull off a name, it just, to me, it's kind of dumb. It's just a name. It doesn't, I don't think it adds or just subtracts anything from his character, honestly. If you're a good enough wrestler, a good enough worker, you can make it work. Nobody's going to care what your name is at the end. Like, Zack Ryder sounds stupid, but everybody loves him, and it plays into his gimmick. So people bitching about names is just the stupidest thing to me, honestly.
Yeah, I'm on this one particular message board that I frequent where the consistent argument is that Dolph Ziggler should be Nick Nemeth because he'd be way more of a badass with that name. I think it's like the stupidest discussion ever because I get that like people see the names and they're like, oh, it's just like the standard name generator or whatever. I'm like, that's fine. As for his in particular, I think Kassius Ohno is particularly badass. I don't know why, but like the more I look at it, the more I write it down, the more I say it, it just, to me, it stands out. I think it's actually good. I think it's one of the first FCW names. I think Dolph Ziggler is another one that like it just stands. It's on a piece of paper. If you write it down or if you look at a card, it just stands out there. Like you're like, oh man, like Ziggler stands out. I think Kassius Ohno is going to stand out on a card.
And I want to add something to that. It's kind of like when John Mox came in, everyone hated Dean Ambrose, and now I think Dean Ambrose sounds really badass and fits him well.
Yeah, I would agree with that too. I know when I first heard Dolph Ziggler and they brought him in, that was his name. I thought that was terrible. I really didn't like it, and then it kind of just started sticking, and the name really popped, and you know, Ziggler, and it just kind of just went, and it worked. And the more I kept, you know, I've been thinking about this Kassius Ohno name. This could really be good for Hero. Also, I mean, it could be something, you know, as a lot of people have talked about, the initials being KO, and it looks like, from what I've read, he's going to go with the knockout gimmick with the elbows and such. But what I want to get into now, I know we talked about the name. We looked at some of the FCW pictures that he took, and from what I've seen, and I know I'm a huge Hero fan, he doesn't look like he's in as great a shape as he was. Looks like he's had some time off. You think that's going to affect him? You think he's going to get the, I guess we talked about this, the Braden Walker treatment, or you think he can really get back into shape? And I mean, I know his wrestling quality has always been there, but
I honestly think this explains why he came back and worked indie dates like Ring of Honor and stuff, just because I think he probably did realize, wow, I'm actually going to WWE now, except because the paperwork's been delayed, I've been sitting on my ass for like half a year, and so now I'm just like waiting, you know, it's just, I hope he doesn't get Braden Walker.
I don't think it's going to affect him. I really don't think it's going to affect him that much.
Yeah.
I think Christopher's a good enough worker, and I think he's dedicated enough now that he's finally made it to get back into good shape. You know, I mean, if he did take off all 6 months, like, he could work out for 6 months and get himself back into probably just as good a shape as he was before. And I think he's hungry for it. You know, he's not a young guy. It's not like he gets another shot if he F's this one up. So I think he's going to come in determined. I heard his first match was really good, and I heard he was really over in it. So I don't think it's going to affect him that much.
I do think that, you know, the issue with like someone like Braden Walker is that at the time they had ECW, which they were trying to fill with talent. I think one thing he's going to benefit from is I don't think they don't have a third brand right now that they're trying to fill with young guys, if that makes sense. So I think he's going to get time. They're keeping people down in FCW for a while now.
Yeah.
The only exceptions being the guys who were like on NXT. You know, Brian worked like one match down there, but yeah, I think he's going to benefit from them not bringing up people quickly. So I hope he does well. I like the name. I obviously like Chris Hero, and hope he does the best he can.
Yeah. So the next thing we're going to jump on here too is going to be Brodus Clay. Hasn't been on TV in a while. He's kind of been out of action. He's not really been doing much, and basically Brodus Clay, they sent him back to FCW, or they're going to, because they said his in-ring work wasn't as good as what it should be. Now, you think this is just a case of...
That's ridiculous. He works 1-minute matches. Like, how bad I think he is. He's over.
Well, yeah,
well,
here's the thing.
On NXT and Superstars for the past freaking year.
Yeah, and that's the thing I was going to say is... basically... Go ahead.
They said, okay, I'm going to bring this guy in. We're going to give him this shithouse gimmick, and we're going to hope that he gets shit on. And he did get shit on. WWE doesn't like it when lower card guys get over. At least the lower card guys that they don't want to get over.
If it was Zack Ryder cough.
I mean, if it was if that kind of pop was for McIntyre, he'd be wrestling for the World Heavyweight title tomorrow.
Yeah.
But because it's a guy that I think
it's a little far. It's a little far there. It's a little far. He's got great theme music. I'll give him that.
Okay, if McIntyre got cool following, they would give him excuses.
If McIntyre quit falling onto the ropes and hurting his fucking nuts every match, he might be getting over right now. But he seemed to lose to Santino, which obviously Santino's a huge deal. He's in the Elimination Chamber and everything. Like, by God, it's gonna be Santino, Sheamus for the world title at Mania. They're gonna be headlining over Cena and Rock, obviously. That's what they're setting up for.
Now,
Back on that. If Great Khali is okay enough to be in a WWE ring, I think Brodus Clay is just fine.
Yeah, that's what I think too. And I think it's exactly what Nathan was saying. And the point I was going to make about it is they did this to kind of troll the audience, and it got over. Like, the fans kind of trolled WWE back, where they liked it. Now they see the point where now the fans are to the point where they're like, oh God, is he just going to continue to keep having 1-minute matches? Like,
go ahead.
You know, what are they going to do?
I knew something was wrong when I didn't see him, on the next Raw after the Royal Rumble. I was like, he's been coming out every time, why is he not here? And then he wasn't on SmackDown, so you obviously kind of, it was foreshadowed by them that he was getting kind of de-pushed, which is really quick. He didn't even have more than squash matches. It was I just think it's really dumb, honestly.
Yeah, I think the first sign that something was up, too, is that he wasn't actually in the Royal Rumble, which was really weird to me. I thought that would have been a good time for him. I could have seen him easily doing the Rikishi thing from the 2000 Royal Rumble, where he danced with someone and then turned on him and threw him out. So that spot wrote itself. So I mean,
he could have dominated the first 10 entrance of that, and then got tossed. It would have put him over more than he's probably been put over so far. I mean, but I guess they just didn't want to go that way.
Yeah, I hope we haven't seen the end of Funkasaurus. I'm not a huge fan of Brodus Clay, just regular vanilla Brodus Clay. But I'm a huge Funkasaurus mark.
I am too. I like the gimmick, and I think it's over, and I think it's entertaining, as it's a character that WWE's missing. So I would love to see him continue to do it.